So, what does it take to transform thousands of inconsistent, kind of broken hotels into a world-famous travel brand and do it all before the founder even turns 30? Well, today we're diving into the incredible story of OYO, the startup that went after a revolution in budget travel, scaled like an absolute rocket ship, and then slammed into a brutal reality check. Okay, so let's set the scene. Before 2013, if you were booking a budget hotel, especially in a place like India, it felt like rolling the dice. You know the feeling, right? You see some decent pictures online, but what you actually get, well, it could be anything from a nice surprise to a complete and total nightmare. There was just no brand trust, zero consistency. It was a huge headache for travelers. And right into that chaos steps this really simple but powerful idea from a college dropout named Ritesh Agarwal. The whole concept was OYO, which stood for on your own. And the promise? It was to standardize all of these unbranded hotels, making sure every single customer got a clean room, Wi-Fi, AC, a predictable, trustworthy experience. And you could book it all, instantly, right from an app. So this brings us to the big, central question we're going to tackle today. How did this straightforward idea just explode into a $10 billion global empire with some of the biggest investors in the world backing it? And maybe more importantly, how did that insane meteoric rise bring it right to the edge of total collapse?
So let's start at the beginning. Part 1. How OYO started fixing these broken hotels.
I mean, the contrast here is just night and day. Before OYO, booking was a total gamble on quality and, frankly, safety. But OYO's model promised something totally different, a standardized experience you could manage through one single powerful app. This wasn't just about getting people rooms, it was about building a brand you could finally trust in a market that had absolutely none. So how did they actually do it? Well, the process was kind of brilliant in how simple it was. OYO would find these existing, unbranded hotels and partner with them. Then they'd just swoop in for this super fast transformation. You'd see the famous red OYO branding go up, rooms would get updated to meet their standards, they'd train the staff and plug in their tech to manage bookings. And just like that, a random local guest house was now part of a huge national network. So this simple model became the engine for OYO's next phase, what we call blitzscaling. And this is where the company went from being a clever Indian startup to a legitimate global phenomenon. The speed was just breathtaking. They started in 2013, and by 2015, they already had over 1,000 hotels just in India. But then, they hit the afterburners. By 2018, they were pushing hard into China and Southeast Asia, and by 2019, they were in Europe. The goal was massive, become the world's largest hotel chain, and they were moving at light speed to get there. The numbers really tell the story here. I mean, going from just a handful of properties to over 25,000 around the world in only 6 years, that kind of growth is almost unheard of. It was fueled by huge amounts of venture capital, especially from SoftBank, who really saw OYO as the next big disruptive platform.
And all that growth, all that investment, it led to this number, $10 billion. That's billion with a B. At its peak, OYO is one of the most valuable startups on the planet. The vision wasn't just fixing hotels in India anymore, it was about total domination of the global hospitality market.
But this raises a really critical question, one that a lot of super fast-growing companies have to face. What happens when your growth just completely outpaces your ability to control quality? What happens when the rocket ship is flying so fast that the parts actually start to shake loose? And that, my friends, leads us to the toughest chapter in the OYO story, the brutal reality check. This is where that strategy of hypergrowth started to backfire in a really big, public way. All of a sudden, the cracks started to show up everywhere. Quality control just plummeted because they were adding thousands of hotels without any real oversight. Disputes with their own hotel partners over payments and contracts became a huge problem. The company was just burning through money, and its global operations were stretched to the breaking point. And then, the ultimate unexpected disaster. COVID-19 hits and brings global travel to a dead stop. And this really gets to the core of the issue, right? A brand is a promise. OYO's promise was a standardized quality experience. But when that rapid, unchecked scaling meant the on-the-ground reality didn't match the promise anymore, the whole brand was suddenly in serious trouble. But look, this story doesn't end there. OYO has since been working hard to right the ship, focusing more on profitability and sustainable partnerships. So what can we actually learn from this insane roller coaster ride? Let's distill it down to 3 key lessons.
First up, standardizing a chaotic market is a massive opportunity, no doubt about it. OYO was brilliant for identifying a huge problem and coming up with an elegant solution. But the lesson here is that execution is absolutely everything. You have to be able to deliver on that promise of standardization consistently at every single location, every single time.
Second, and this is a huge one, venture capital is an accelerator. It's not a magic solution. The billions of dollars OYO raised allowed for incredible growth. Yeah, but it also magnified the underlying problems in their model. See, money will speed up your failures just as fast as it speeds up your successes if your foundation isn't rock solid. And finally, the most important lesson of all, scale your quality before you scale your size. The customer experience, that is the ultimate judge of your brand. 1 million properties with a bad reputation are worth way, way less than 1,000 properties that customers absolutely love and trust. And that leaves us with this final thought. The OYO saga is a classic tale of huge ambition, incredible speed, and some very, very hard lessons about growth. It really forces every founder and investor to ask themselves, in the race to build the next big thing, what actually matters more for long-term survival? That explosive, headline-grabbing growth, or patiently building a sustainable, high-quality? So, what does it take to transform thousands of inconsistent,